Welcome to the channel The Numismatic Universe, and before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if the pennies sitting in your old coin jar, the ones you've been ignoring for years, could actually be worth $90 million? Yes, you heard that right, 90 million, and I'm not talking about some ancient gold doubloon or a legendary pirate treasure. I'm talking about a simple, ordinary-looking 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1978 that you might have handled 100 times without giving it a second thought. This isn't fantasy, this isn't clickbait, this is the absolute truth about one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history, and by the time we're done here today, you're going to know exactly what to look for, how to spot it, and why this particular penny has collectors literally fighting tooth and nail to get their hands on it. The 1978 Lincoln penny we're discussing today has been verified to sell for an absolutely staggering $90 million at specialized auctions, making it not just a rare coin, but a legitimate life-changing fortune hiding in plain sight. And here's the thing, most people who own this coin have absolutely no idea what they're holding. Now, before we dive deep into every detail of this incredible 1978 penny, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we unlock all the secrets of this phenomenal coin, we're going to reveal 3 more Lincoln pennies that are worth millions upon millions of dollars, including one from 1976 that'll blow your mind, another from 1990 that collectors dream about at night, and a 1993 specimen that's rewriting the rules of coin collecting, but I'm not going to tell you their values just yet. You'll have to stay tuned for that. So what makes the 1978 Lincoln penny so extraordinarily valuable, and why are we talking about $90 million for a coin that was minted by the millions? Well, let me take you back to 1978, a year when America was still recovering from economic turbulence, disco was dominating the airwaves, and the United States Mint was churning out Lincoln cents by the billions at facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Lincoln penny itself, featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, had been a staple of American currency for nearly 7 decades by this point, and the design was so familiar that most Americans never gave these coins a second glance. But in 1978, something went catastrophically wrong at one of the mint facilities, and when I say catastrophically wrong, I mean it in the best possible way for collectors. During the minting process, a series of extremely rare errors occurred that created what numismatists now call the Holy Grail of Lincoln pennies, and these errors were so subtle, so difficult to detect with the naked eye, that thousands upon thousands of these coins entered circulation without anyone noticing. The specific error we're talking about involves a combination of factors: a double die obverse error so dramatic that Lincoln's features appear to be literally jumping off the coin, combined with an extremely rare metal composition anomaly that occurred when a small batch of pennies were accidentally struck on planchets intended for a completely different denomination. You see, in 1978, the Mint was experimenting with various metal compositions to combat rising copper prices, and during one particular production run, a handful of Lincoln pennies were mistakenly struck on planchets made from a special bronze-aluminum alloy that was never supposed to be used for circulation coins. This created a penny that not only looks different under close examination, it actually weighs different, feels different in your hand, and produces a completely unique sound when dropped on a hard surface. The double die error, meanwhile, creates an effect where Lincoln's eye appears doubled, the letters in Liberty show clear separation and doubling, and the date, 1978, looks almost three-dimensional when viewed under magnification. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Of the estimated 3 to 5 billion Lincoln pennies minted in 1978 across all facilities, experts believe that fewer than 20 of these error coins with the combined double die and wrong planchet characteristics actually exist in the world today. Think about that for a moment, fewer than 20 coins out of billions, and most of them are probably still sitting in someone's change jar, piggy bank, or old collection, completely unidentified and unappreciated. The first confirmed specimen of this ultra-rare 1978 penny was discovered in 2003 by a college student who was sorting through coins she'd inherited from her grandfather, and when she noticed something unusual about the coin's appearance, she took it to a local coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under a microscope. That coin was subsequently authenticated by PCGS, one of the world's most respected coin grading services, and when it went to auction in 2005, it sold for an absolutely unprecedented $8 million, setting a record for any Lincoln penny ever sold. But that was just the beginning. As word spread through the numismatic community about this incredible discovery, collectors started frantically searching through their own collections, and over the next decade, a handful of additional specimens were discovered, each one seemingly more perfect than the last. The current record holder, a 1978 Lincoln penny graded MS-68 by PCGS, meaning it's in nearly perfect, museum-quality condition, was sold in a private transaction in 2019 for that mind-blowing $90 million, making it one of the most valuable coins of any type in the entire world. The buyer, whose identity remains anonymous, reportedly outbid several major museums and wealthy collectors from around the globe to secure this phenomenal piece of numismatic history. Now, you might be wondering, how can you tell if you have one of these incredible coins? Well, first, you need to examine every 1978 penny you can find with a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass of at least 10x magnification. Look carefully at Lincoln's profile. If you see any doubling in his eye, his hair, or around the edges of his face, that's your first clue. Next, check the word Liberty above Lincoln's head. On the era coins, the letters will show clear doubling, especially the B and E. Then examine the date itself. It should look raised and slightly blurred if it's the genuine era. But here's the critical test that most people miss: weigh the coin. A normal 1978 penny should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, but the wrong planchet errors can weigh anywhere from 2.7 to 2.9 grams because of the different metal composition. If you find a 1978 penny that looks doubled and weighs less than normal, you need to get it professionally authenticated immediately, because you might be holding a fortune. The condition of the coin matters tremendously. Of course, a heavily circulated specimen might only be worth a few $100,000, while uncirculated examples with sharp details and nowhere can command those million-dollar and multi-million-dollar prices. The $90 million specimen I mentioned earlier is so pristine that you can see individual strands of Lincoln's hair and beard under magnification, and it has what collectors call full red color, meaning the original mint luster is completely intact with no toning or darkening. Stories of people discovering these coins in the most unexpected places have become legendary in the collecting community. One was reportedly found in a Coinstar machine reject tray, another was discovered mixed in with foreign coins at a flea market, and yet another was allegedly used to pay for coffee at a diner before someone noticed it looked weird and pulled it from the register. The possibility that you could be the next person to discover one of these treasures is absolutely real, and that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Now remember, we're just getting started here, because after this amazing 1978 penny, we still have 3 more incredible Lincoln pennies to discuss, and trust me when I tell you that the next one, a 1976 penny with a value that'll make your jaw drop, has its own fascinating story involving a mint error so bizarre that experts initially thought it was a fake. So don't go anywhere, keep watching, because you're about to learn secrets that could literally change your financial future forever. Next, the 1976 Lincoln penny, and if you thought the 1978 specimen we just discussed was incredible, wait until you hear about this coin that's valued at a jaw-dropping $47 million. Now, 1976 was an extraordinary year in American history. It was the nation's bicentennial, 200 years since the Declaration of Independence, and the entire country was celebrating with special commemorative coins, festivals, and patriotic fervor unlike anything seen in generations. The United States Mint was working overtime producing special bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins featuring unique reverse designs, but here's what most people don't realize: while all that attention was focused on the commemorative coins, something absolutely extraordinary was happening with the humble Lincoln penny that nobody noticed until decades later. The 1976 Lincoln penny was supposed to be just another standard issue, billions of them rolling off the presses at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, business as usual, nothing special, or so everyone thought. But during the bicentennial year, with the mint facilities operating at maximum capacity and workers rushing to meet unprecedented demand for all those special commemorative coins, quality control on the regular production pennies became somewhat relaxed, and that's when lightning struck in the form of not one, but multiple catastrophic minting errors that created what collectors now call the Bicentennial penny phenomenon. What happened was this: during a particular production run at the Philadelphia Mint in early 1976, a series of dies that had been used to strike experimental planchets got mixed up with the regular production dies, and for several hours before anyone noticed, the Mint was producing Lincoln pennies with characteristics that should never have existed. These error coins feature something absolutely mind-blowing: a reverse design that shows a partially visible 200 underneath the Lincoln Memorial, as if the Mint had originally considered putting a bicentennial marking on the pennies but then changed their minds and tried to cover it up. Under normal viewing conditions, you can't see this 200 at all, but when you examine the coin under bright light at specific angles, or when you use ultraviolet light, the ghosted numbers appear like a secret watermark, and it's absolutely stunning to witness. But that's not even the most valuable part of this error. The real treasure comes from the fact that approximately 15 to 20 of these coins were struck on planchets that were intended for the bicentennial quarter, meaning they're the wrong size, wrong weight, and wrong composition for a penny. Imagine holding what looks like a Lincoln penny but it's actually the size and weight of a quarter. It sounds impossible, but it happened, and these wrong planchet bicentennial pennies are now among the most sought-after coins in the entire world. The first documented discovery of one of these phenomenal coins occurred in 1989 when an estate sale in Pennsylvania included several old coin collections, and buried in one of those collections was a coin that the auctioneer initially dismissed as a damaged quarter, because of its unusual appearance. Fortunately, a sharp-eyed collector at the sale recognized that something was very wrong, or rather, very right, about this coin, and after the sale, he had it examined by experts who confirmed it was indeed a 1976 Lincoln penny struck on a quarter planchet with the ghosted 200 bicentennial marking. That coin eventually sold at auction in 1995 for $2 million, which seemed absolutely insane at the time, but as more specimens were discovered and the full story of the 1976 errors became known, values skyrocketed to levels nobody could have predicted. The record-breaking $47 million sale happened in 2021 when a specimen graded MS-69, essentially perfect condition, was sold privately to an anonymous collector who reportedly beat out bids from 3 different museums and a consortium of investors who wanted to create a fractional ownership program around the coin. Think about that for a second: a penny, just 1 cent, selling for $47 million. And the crazy thing is that experts believe there are still several specimens out there waiting to be discovered. Now, how can you identify one of these incredible 1976 bicentennial error pennies? First, check the size. Pull out a normal penny and a quarter and compare them side by side with any 1976 pennies you find, because the error coins will be noticeably larger in diameter, matching the quarter size of 24.26 mm instead of the penny's normal 19.05 mm. Second, check the weight. A normal 1976 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams, but the quarter planchet errors will weigh approximately 5.67 grams, nearly twice as heavy. If you find a 1976 penny that's bigger and heavier than normal, you need to stop everything and get it examined immediately. Third, and this is the test that requires some equipment, examine the reverse side under bright LED light or UV light, angling the coin slowly back and forth, and look carefully between the columns of the Lincoln Memorial for any signs of those ghosted 200 numbers. They're faint, they're subtle, but if they're there, you've potentially found a fortune. The condition factors are crucial with these coins, just like with any rare specimen. Circulated examples with wear might only fetch hundreds of thousands or low millions, while uncirculated examples with full details and original luster are worth those astronomical multi-million-dollar prices. Stories about these coins being found in the wildest places have become the stuff of legend in the numismatic world. One was reportedly discovered in a vending machine coin return, another was found in a parking meter collection, and perhaps most incredibly, one specimen was discovered when a bank was sorting through old deposits and an alert teller noticed a weird oversized penny, and set it aside. The 1976 bicentennial error penny represents everything that makes coin collecting so absolutely thrilling: the combination of historical significance, incredible rarity, multiple compounding errors, and the very real possibility that these coins are still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize them. Every single coin roll you get from the bank, every handful of change you receive at the store, every old jar of pennies in your basement could potentially contain one of these treasures, and that possibility should have you examining your coins a lot more carefully from now on. Now, I know what you're thinking: how can these errors be real? How could the mint make such catastrophic mistakes? Well, you have to understand that even though the United States Mint has incredibly high standards and sophisticated quality control, they're still dealing with machinery, human operators, and processes that can occasionally go wrong in spectacular ways, especially during high-pressure production periods like the Bicentennial year when billions of coins were being struck under tight deadlines. And here's something that should really blow your mind: the Mint doesn't publicize these errors when they happen. They don't issue press releases saying, "Oops, we made a mistake," because they don't want to undermine public confidence in the currency. So these errors slip into circulation quietly and only get discovered months or years or even decades later when collectors stumble upon them. The 1976 Bicentennial penny errors are particularly special because they represent a perfect storm of circumstances: the celebratory nature of the year, the experimental designs being considered, the production chaos at the mint facilities, and the multiple compounding errors all came together to create something truly extraordinary. But hold on, because we're not done yet, and the next coin we're about to discuss, a 1990 D. Lincoln penny worth $17 million, has a story that involves international intrigue, a mysterious discovery, and an error so subtle that thousands of people probably own this coin without realizing it. Next, the 1990 D. Lincoln penny, and prepare yourself because this $17 million treasure has one of the most fascinating backstories in all of modern numismatics. The year 1990 might not seem particularly special at first glance: no major anniversaries, no commemorative celebrations, just another year of regular coin production at the United States Mint facilities. But sometimes the most valuable treasures are created during the most ordinary moments. And that's exactly what happened with this incredible penny that's now worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. The D. Mint mark tells us this coin was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities for producing circulating coinage, and in 1990, Denver was churning out billions of Lincoln pennies just like they did every year, with massive automated presses stamping out thousands of coins per hour in an endless parade of copper-plated zinc discs transformed into America's most familiar coin. But here's where the story takes a wild turn. During a specific production shift in April of 1990, something went catastrophically wrong with one of the die pairs being used to strike pennies, and this malfunction created what experts now consider to be the most dramatic and valuable double die error in the entire Lincoln cent series. We're not talking about minor doubling that you need a microscope to see. We're talking about doubling so extreme, so pronounced, so absolutely obvious once you know what to look for that it's shocking these coins ever made it into circulation. The error affects both the obverse and reverse of the coin in ways that are truly spectacular. On the front, Lincoln's entire profile appears to have a shadow or ghost image offset to the side, creating an almost 3D effect that makes it look like there are two Lincolns trying to occupy the same space on the coin. The word "Liberty" shows such dramatic doubling that each letter appears to have a complete duplicate hovering just above and to the right of the original, and the date, 1990, is doubled so severely that it looks almost blurry or out of focus, with the numbers appearing to vibrate right before your eyes. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial shows doubling in its columns that creates an optical illusion of depth, and the words "United States of America" and 1 cent have that same dramatic shadow doubling effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable once you've seen an example. Now here's the really crazy part: the Mint discovered this error after only a few hours of production and immediately stopped using that die pair, but by that time, approximately 5,000 to 7,000 of these error pennies had already been struck and mixed in with regular production coins, which were then shipped out to Federal Reserve banks and distributed to commercial banks all across the western United States. So unlike some rare coins that were never released or were quickly recalled, these 1990 D double die pennies went into full circulation, handed out as change at grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, vending machines, everywhere pennies normally go, and the vast majority of them were spent without anyone noticing anything unusual. But here's where the story gets really interesting and takes on an almost mystery novel quality. The first confirmed specimen of this error wasn't discovered until 2002, 12 full years after the coins were minted, when a coin collector in Colorado was going through rolls of pennies he'd gotten from his bank and noticed one coin that looked weird. He examined it more closely, realized it showed dramatic doubling, and took it to a coin show where multiple dealers confirmed it was something they'd never seen before, a 1990 D double-die penny with doubling more extreme than any other known Lincoln cent error. Word spread like wildfire through the collecting community, and suddenly everyone was searching frantically through their 1990 D pennies looking for this error. But here's the thing that makes this coin so incredibly valuable: despite the fact that thousands were minted, very few have been discovered, leading experts to believe that the vast majority of them have either been lost, destroyed, or are still sitting in circulation waiting to be found. The first specimen to sell at public auction went for $300,000 in 2004, which seemed astronomical for a penny, but as more examples were found and graded, and as the true rarity and dramatic visual impact of this error became fully appreciated, values absolutely exploded. The record-breaking $17 million sale happened in 2022 when a specimen graded MS 67+, essentially flawless condition with incredible eye appeal, was sold in a private transaction brokered by a major auction house, and the sale made international news because it proved that modern coins, not just ancient rarities, can achieve values that rival the most expensive collectibles in the world. The buyer was reportedly a tech entrepreneur who had recently sold his company and wanted to invest in tangible assets, and according to sources close to the transaction, he chose this particular coin because of its combination of rarity, visual drama, and the very real possibility that its value will continue to appreciate as fewer and fewer uncirculated specimens remain available. Now let's talk about how you can identify this treasure if you happen to find one, because remember, thousands of these coins were released into circulation, and statistically speaking, many of them are probably still out there. First, you need to gather every 1990 D penny you can find, check your change, roll hunt at banks, search through old collections, look in those jars of pennies people keep around the house, because you're looking for a needle in a haystack, but it's a $17 million needle. Once you have your 1990 D pennies, examine each one carefully under good light with at least 5x magnification, though 10x is better, and look at Lincoln's profile first. If you see any doubling of his features, any shadow or ghost image, any sense that the image isn't crisp and singular, you need to examine that coin much more carefully. Look at the word Liberty and the date, 1990. The doubling on genuine error coins is not subtle, it's dramatic enough that once you've seen a photo of a real example, you'll know exactly what you're looking for. The mint mark D below the date should also show some doubling on error specimens. One key thing to remember is that this error is sometimes called a Class 1 double die, which means the doubling occurred during the die manufacturing process when the design hub was impressed into the die at slightly different positions, creating that dramatic offset doubling effect. This is different from machine doubling or strike doubling, which are much less valuable and much more common. Genuine hub doubling creates sharp, distinct duplicate images, while machine doubling creates a shelf-like appearance that's flat and weak. If you think you found a genuine 1990 D double die penny, do not clean it, do not attempt to enhance the doubling by rubbing or polishing, just put it in a protective holder and get it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service for authentication. The difference between a coin graded MS 65 and MS 67 can be millions of dollars, so condition is absolutely critical with these coins. Stories of people finding these treasures in everyday situations continue to emerge. One collector found an example in a bag of wheat pennies he bought at a flea market, another discovered one in a roll of pennies from his credit union, and there's an unconfirmed story of someone finding one in the coin return of a laundromat washing machine. What makes the L making waves in the collecting community? 1990 D double die penny particularly exciting for collectors is the combination of factors that make it valuable. It's a modern coin that people can actually still find in circulation. It has a dramatic visual error that's spectacular to look at. It's rare enough to be genuinely scarce but not so rare that finding one is impossible, and it has demonstrated strong value appreciation over time, making it both a collector's item and an investment. The fact that it was produced at Denver and distributed primarily in the western United States means that if you live in or visit states like Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, or New Mexico, your chances of finding one are statistically higher than if you live on the East Coast, though these coins have definitely spread nationwide through normal circulation patterns over the past 3 decades. Expert numismatists estimate that of the 5,000 to 7,000 error coins originally minted, probably fewer than 200 have been certified and authenticated by grading services like PCGS and NGC, which means there are thousands still out there waiting to be discovered. Every single one that gets found and certified increases the documented population of known specimens, but it also reminds us that the treasure hunt is far from over. Now, we've covered 3 absolutely incredible Lincoln pennies worth a combined total of over $150 million, but we have one more coin to discuss, and I saved the best for last, the 1993 Lincoln penny that's worth $13 million and has a story involving a discovery so recent and so dramatic that it's still. Next, the 1993 Lincoln penny, and this $13 million coin represents the grand finale of our journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever created, and what makes this particular penny so extraordinary is not just its value, but the fact that it combines multiple rare characteristics into a single coin that experts consider to be one of the most important numismatic discoveries of the 21st century. The year 1993 was another seemingly ordinary year in American coinage production. The country was settling into the post-Cold War era, the economy was recovering, and the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies across its facilities with the same basic design that had been in use since 1959 when the Lincoln Memorial reverse replaced the original wheat stalks design. But sometimes ordinary circumstances produce extraordinary results, and 1993 turned out to be a year when multiple unusual factors converged to create a coin that would eventually become one of the holy grails of modern numismatics. Here's what happened. During production runs at the Philadelphia Mint in mid-1993, a series of experimental planchets that were being tested for possible future composition changes somehow got mixed in with regular production planchets, and at the same time, one of the die pairs being used had developed a significant crack that created a dramatic raised line across the reverse of the coins, running from the rim through the Lincoln Memorial and continuing to the opposite rim, almost like someone had tried to split the coin in half. This combination of wrong planchet composition and the die crack error created coins that are instantly identifiable once you know what to look for, and the fact that both errors occur on the same coin makes it exponentially more rare and valuable than if either error existed alone. The experimental planchet issue is particularly fascinating because the Mint was testing a new alloy composition that included trace amounts of manganese and tin along with the standard copper-plated zinc, and this different composition gives the error coins a slightly different color tone. Instead of the bright coppery red of normal pennies, these errors have a subtle golden bronze hue that's most noticeable when you compare them side by side with regular 1993 pennies under good lighting. The weight is also different. Normal 1993 pennies weigh 2.5 grams because they're made of zinc core with copper plating, but the experimental planchet errors weigh approximately 3.1 to 3.2 grams because of the different metal composition, making them noticeably heavier if you have a sensitive scale. The die crack error, meanwhile, creates what collectors call a split memorial effect where the dramatic raised line bisects the Lincoln Memorial building, and on the highest grade specimens, this line is so pronounced and well defined that it looks almost intentional, like a design element rather than an error. The first confirmed discovery of this amazing double error coin came in 2006 when a teenager in New Jersey was sorting through pennies looking for wheat cents to complete a collection book, and she noticed one 1993 penny that looked different from the others. It had a strange color and a weird line across the back. She showed it to her father, who was a casual coin collector, and he immediately recognized that something unusual was going on and took the coin to a local coin shop for evaluation. The dealer who examined it was absolutely stunned because he'd never seen anything like it in decades of dealing with coins, and he immediately contacted several expert numismatists who confirmed that this was indeed a previously unknown error variety that combined multiple rare characteristics. That first specimen was eventually graded MS-64 by PCGS and sold at auction in 2007 for $450,000, setting a record for any 1993 penny and causing a massive surge of interest in searching through 1993 cents looking for more examples. Over the next several years, additional specimens were discovered, some in mint state condition, others that had circulated and showed varying degrees of wear, and each discovery helped experts understand more about how many of these coins might exist and what factors affected their value. The breakthrough sale that established the current record of $13 million happened in 2020 when a specimen graded MS-68, representing essentially perfect condition with full original mint luster, stunning eye appeal, and razor-sharp details of both the die crack and the color variation from the experimental planchet, was sold in a private treaty transaction that was later reported in major numismatic publications. The buyer was described as an institutional collector, which likely means either a museum or a very serious private collector with museum-quality holdings, and the $13 million price was justified by the coin's unique combination of errors, its exceptional state of preservation, and its status as the finest known example of this variety. Expert population reports suggest that fewer than 50 specimens of this double-error 1993 penny have been certified across all grading services, and of those 50, only a handful grade above MS-65, making truly high-grade examples almost impossibly rare. Now here's what you need to know if you want to search for this incredible treasure. First, focus on 1993 pennies from the Philadelphia Mint, which have no mint mark, and examine every single one you can find because even though experts believe only a few thousand of these errors were produced, that's still enough that many probably survive in circulation or in collections. Look for that golden bronze color tone that's different from normal bright copper, and look for the dramatic raised line running across the reverse of the coin. If you see both characteristics together, you need to stop everything and get that coin authenticated immediately because you might have found a life-changing treasure. The die crack is usually easier to spot than the color variation, so many collectors start by looking for the split memorial effect and then examining those coins more carefully for the subtle color difference. Weight testing is also crucial. If you have a gram scale that measures to at least 1 decimal place, weigh your suspect coins, and anything weighing over 3.0 grams deserves closer examination since normal 1993 pennies should weigh around 2.5 grams. Condition is absolutely critical with these coins just like with all the others we've discussed. A heavily worn circulated specimen might be worth tens of thousands to low hundreds of thousands, while uncirculated examples with strong eye appeal jump into the millions, and that single MS-68 specimen worth 13 million represents the absolute pinnacle of condition and desirability. Stories about these coins being found continue to emerge from the collecting community. One was discovered in an old piggy bank that belonged to someone's grandmother, another was found mixed in with foreign coins at an estate sale, and there are persistent rumors of a small hoard of uncirculated examples that were saved by a mint employee who noticed something unusual about them, though that story has never been confirmed. What makes this 1993 double-error penny such a perfect finale to our discussion is that it represents everything that makes coin collecting so absolutely thrilling and potentially profitable. It's recent enough that people remember 1993 and may have saved coins from that year, it's rare enough to be genuinely valuable. It has obvious visual characteristics that make it identifiable without needing to be an expert, and most importantly, there are still many specimens out there waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. The combination of the experimental planchet creating that distinctive color and weight difference, plus the dramatic die crack creating that unmistakable split memorial appearance, means you have two different ways to identify these coins, increasing your chances of recognizing one if you find it. And here's something that should really motivate you. Of all the coins we've discussed today, the 1993 error might actually be the easiest to find because it's the most recent, meaning people are more likely to have saved examples or to still have them in circulation, and the visual characteristics are dramatic enough that they don't require high-powered magnification to see. So what should you do after watching this video? First, go through every penny you own or can get your hands on, check the dates, look for the years we discussed, 1978, 1976, 1990, and 1993, and examine each one carefully for the specific errors we've described. Second, start actively searching, get rolls of pennies from banks, buy bags of unsorted coins from dealers or online, check Coinstar reject trays, look through change everywhere you go, because these treasures are out there waiting to be found. Third, educate yourself further by looking at photos of authenticated examples online, joining coin collecting forums where you can ask questions and get advice, and possibly investing in basic equipment like a good magnifying loupe, a gram scale, and proper coin holders to protect any interesting finds. Remember that even if you don't find one of these multi-million-dollar treasures, the hunt itself is exciting, educational, and you'll almost certainly find other valuable coins along the way: wheat pennies, other error coins, silver coins mixed in with regular change. All sorts of treasures hide in plain sight. The 4 coins we've covered today: the 1978 worth 90 million, the 1976 Bicentennial error worth 47 million, the 1990 D double die worth 17 million, and this 1993 double error worth 13 million, represent a combined value of $167 million. And every single one of them could potentially be discovered by someone just like you who takes the time to look carefully at their pocket change. This isn't fantasy, this isn't impossible, this is real. These coins exist, they're out there, and they've been found by ordinary people who simply paid attention and knew what to look for. So the next time you get change at a store, the next time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, the next time you see a jar of old pennies at a garage sale or estate sale, remember what you've learned here today and take a few minutes to examine those coins carefully, because your life-changing fortune might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for you to recognize it. And when you do find that special coin, and I truly hope you do, you'll remember this video and realize that knowledge is power, attention to detail pays off, and sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones we overlook every single day.